Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14. I tell people all the time that I don't miss people. I'm really good about not caring, not missing people, but there's a guy here in the house who I have really missed, and I'm kind of tearing up a little bit. I missed him so much. He's back in town. He's our former mayor, Jake Day. Welcome, sir.
Greg, I missed you too.
Thank you. Thank you. Director of Housing and Community Development for the state of Maryland. No one knows what that is. Tell us what that is.
Let me tell you. So when I knew that I was going to get the job, I was laying in bed that night with the girls tucked on either side of me, Lily and Olivia.
Your daughters.
My daughters. And they're on either side of me, and we're not quite ready to snooze. We just finished reading books. And I decided I'm going to tell them. I'm going to tell him. I'm so excited. I'm going to tell him. And so I told him, Daddy's getting a new job. I'm going to be the Secretary of Housing and Community Development for the state of Maryland. I'm going to go work for the governor. And there was a pause. And then they wept. I mean, they audibly sobbed. They cried so hard. They're like, no, you're the mayor. It's what you... They've known... That's all they've known my whole life.
Yeah.
So their whole lives. So... it dawned on me later once I comforted them, got them to sleep, that they don't know what that is, but they do know what a mayor is, and not just because Daddy's done it, but because there is not a single children's television show that has a Secretary of Housing and Community Development. Not one. Maybe we need to work on that with Maryland Public Television or PAC 14. I don't know, but there are mayor characters. So kids have a frame of reference for what a mayor is and does, but not for Secretary of Housing. And I think that's true for most people. So what do I do? So I am one of the governor's executive council or cabinet members. I run an agency that is lean, I think, about 550 people with contractors. So only slightly larger than the city of Salisbury, but a $2.5 billion budget, so a much larger bit of spending that we do. And I'm responsible for housing policy, place-based economic development policy, run the Office of Statewide Broadband, so I'm responsible for ensuring every Marylander is connected to high-speed broadband by 2028. I am not only the governor's advisor on housing policy, but I also run an HFA. So within our organization, every state, all 55 states and territories have a housing finance agency, an HFA. In the other states, they are independent, created by government, seed financed by government, but they're an independent bank that finances the construction and development of housing, affordable housing. For us, it's internal to state government. So I run a bank, which was not it was not an aspiration I had in life, but it's an important part of what we do. We do business lending. So I do a ton of lending and grants to small businesses, mostly focused on main streets and disinvested communities, trying to bring back vitality to Maryland communities. We also do $1 billion a year in mortgages. So the Maryland Mortgage Program is targeted toward first-time home buyers, some of whom are saddled with other types of debt like student loans. And also use that as a tool for addressing disinvestment in the past. So we do that, and we develop housing. We are a financing entity for affordable housing developers that want to build low-income housing tax credit projects around the state and mixed-income projects around the state. And we're the entity they turn to do that work.
Well, people are all saying, why doesn't the government do this? Why doesn't the government do that? But you're not really, this government's not supposed to be doing a lot of that stuff. You're supposed to be making it possible for private enterprise to do these things.
That's very true. So that's true on two fronts. So it's private enterprise and local communities, community government, local government. I spent yesterday touring Sykesville, and the mayor there, Stacy Link, dynamic mayor, she and her council and her staff and the downtown leaders, they took me shop to shop to shop. We went all through downtown, got to see these great businesses. In some of the cases, we were the grantor of monies for Project Restore, which is money to pay rent for these businesses, particularly to get through the pandemic. It was a pandemic era program. We were the grantor for the facade improvements for some of these businesses. We financed some of the sprinkler systems so that apartments could be on the second floor. We provided major grants, capital grants, for the redevelopment of sites that were abandoned or decrepit and needed to be redeveloped. And we financed major projects like the former Warfield Hospital site, a mental health hospital that the state of Maryland once owned on the edge of town. So, I'm getting to see all these roles that we play. But the job of state government, in my opinion, is not to have a vision for each of these communities, right? Sykesville should tell us what Sykesville wants to be and should find the right development partners, and then we should resource those priorities if they align to the values of the administration and the values of the state of Maryland broadly. And, there's 1,000 areas of overlap. More areas where we agree on what needs to happen than we have resources for. If I could satisfy all the demand that was out there for all the different types of things that we get asked for, my budget would be 4 times the size it is. So we have a lot of great work that we do, but you're right. Private enterprise should be doing the work. Communities should be determining what they want, and then we should be resourcing those things when they align to our values.
One of the things, last weekend I noticed the cabinet, I guess, got on a bus or whatever, went to Western Maryland, did a tour. And you guys were out there kind of like looking at what problems were, talking to officials and people in the public. How does that work? I mean, what did you learn from that?
Well, one of the things I love about Governor Moore and Lieutenant Governor Miller is that they have this consistent and tenacious commitment that doesn't seem to wane at all to their ethic of leaving no one behind. And it manifests in all sorts of different ways. One of them is our cabinet meetings, including this retreat that was held in Allegheny County. We went into Garrett County as well. But this retreat and our cabinet meetings are all held outside of Annapolis. One will be held in Annapolis, but they're being held in every county. There will be a Wycomico County cabinet meeting eventually. So in every county we are having a cabinet meeting. And what it allows us to do is to set up times where we get to hear from mayors and county executives and county commissioners, town council members. Allows us time where we get to hear from community leaders on the issues they're dealing with, and then time to go out and tour different sites. And so in some cases we go as a group, which is what we did for these tours around Garrett and Allegheny County, or we divide and conquer. We split up and go all over the community. In Harford County, the Secretary of Human Services, Rafael Lopez, and I toured a brand new domestic violence shelter that my department had financed, and his department provides significant operating support for. So those are the types of things that enables us to do. So to feel, experience, and see through the eyes of the people that are doing it every day the help that they need. And in some cases, it's unique to that community and a challenge that it has. I mean, the challenges around Deep Creek Lake and their housing market, for example, or Ocean City and their labor force, and housing even around labor force issues there. Those aren't the same in every other community, but so many of the conversations that we have are just a lens into the challenge. I mean, the Harford County battered women's shelter conversation, that's a conversation we could be having in every single community. So it affords us an opportunity to ground truth ideas, to determine, are we thinking about this the right way, and to certainly learn. So there's a feedback loop that has momentum and inertia that it might not have if you simply sit in your office and try to solve these problems.
I've never met Governor Moore, and I'm cynical about everything. So that whole idea of the celebrity governor thing is, we've kind of been leery about that. Had some friends in town just last night. My daughter was there, and someone at the table said, "What's the deal with your new governor?" And she took the question and started talking about the book that she read in high school, The Two Westmores. And
the other Westmore.
I'm sorry, what?
The other Westmore.
The other Westmore.
Yeah.
And start talking about how that completely changed her life and just what she went through in terms of when he ran for governor, how excited she was. And she was able to talk about everything with him in terms of what he's doing. She's very involved in all the policy stuff, the community service stuff, with the kids, just all the things he's given back to. And, she portrayed him as a really dynamic person, and it reminded me that he really is that. So tell me, what do you see from the guy?
So I wish he'd share some of his talents with the rest of the world. The guy's got everything. I don't think he asked to be the celebrity governor. I think he's, frankly, a once-in-a-generation talent. There aren't many people like him. and he's physically gifted. He was a football player, is an Army officer. He is brilliant, thoughtful. He's an Oxford grad. I think they do all right, and he's
being one yourself.
Yeah. Though they paid for him to go, I had to pay my way, so they thought more of him than me, obviously. But I'm okay with that. So yeah, he's a Rhodes Scholar. He's a really incredible guy, and he's so genuine. So we went on a long hike early, 6:15 in the morning last Saturday, and I just get to spend a lot of time with him, and I really cherish those times where it's one-on-one. That was a 6 mile, slightly less than 2 hour hike where we just got to chat about policy and life and kids and everything. He doesn't seek to be a celebrity. It's just easy to put a camera on him and say, and put a microphone in his face, and then to enjoy what comes back. He's just a good guy who means well and who's smart enough to set us on a good course. He's also not a divisive figure, and that maybe is hard to maintain over time when you make tough decisions. But he doesn't make decisions casting aside the people who he might end up on the other side with. He makes decisions because he wants to protect people. He makes decisions because he wants to serve people. This is my impression, that he wants to serve people, and he makes decisions that he thinks are the best decision to make with the information he has. And leaders have to do that. And at the end of the day, you're going to make some people mad. It doesn't mean you cast them aside. You find ways to bring them back around in the future. I have long believed that to the extent we can, maintain relationships with people, because you never know when it'll be, you'll be in each other's company again. You never know when you'll need people again, or they'll need you, and or you'll need each other in a time of crisis. So, that's what I see in Governor Moore.
Well, I think where you got his attention was through your Here is Home program, the redevelopment of downtown Salisbury, the idea, the Ann Street complex, things like that, where you've developed an expertise in this issue and you're able to take that to a state level. Is that the case?
I'm not sure how I got his attention, but I definitely think that when it came down to a conversation about what I could do for the team, there was no question that it was a good fit. The primary audience of the Department of Housing and Community Development is local government. Almost all of our funds are either applied through or directly granted to local government, aside from mortgages, which are direct to consumer. Broadband, which is over $1 billion. All of our state revitalization programs, all of our operating grants and Main Street program grants, everything goes through local government. I was the president of the Maryland Municipal League. I was a local elected official for 10 years. This is, I think I know the audience. I also have made my life about cities and places and building places for people that are successful. And so you'd think, well, you could work in transportation, you could work in commerce, you could do a number of things. But transportation, you're running a transit system, a highway program, an airport, and a port. Those are your primary duties and responsibilities, not really placemaking for people. Commerce, you're really talking about attracting and retaining the big dogs, the Fortune 500 companies, the really big companies, the big employers, and creating the opportunity for that. The business development and economic development work that we do is place-focused. It is about revitalizing communities. The housing work that we do is about anchoring that housing in places that either restore damage that's been done in the past, that ensure that we're not concentrating wealth or concentrating poverty, and that try to ensure that displacement isn't happening. So, all of that work is kind of germane to my personal ethic and personal career trajectory. But with respect to the last few years, I didn't seek out to become a housing expert. It really just became that housing was what my community needed. I've told this story before, and you've probably heard me say it, is coming back from Africa, I expected a public health crisis. I expected a small business crisis. I did not expect a housing crisis. And if you look long term, what happened was you saw a rise since 2008 in housing pricing, in construction pricing. I mean, this has all been getting worse, but it started in 2008 when we stopped building at the rate that we used to build. And it has not gotten better because we have not met the demand with supply. And until we do that, nothing is going to get fixed. Until we are able to produce adequate supply, nothing else is going to get fixed. So my attempts through Here's Home, the city's attempts in my absence through the Horizon program. Yes, that is that's a core city revitalization tactic. It's also a housing tactic, recognizing that programs like enterprise zones do great things for business development, but don't recognize that we don't want central business districts in the United States anymore. We want mixed-use districts that have 24-hour activity. So you have a population that is anchored in the places where you have employment centers, particularly when people are not using offices as much as they used to. That creates an opportunity for the center city to die, like it did in the 80s. I think we are in a place where housing is critical to the conversation that most American families are having around the dinner table. And so to be in that space, to bring some of my experience at the ground level, I feel really fortunate.
It feeds right into my next question. I'm glad you mentioned it. There's three things that when I think of Jake Day, three programs. I think of the Here's Home, I think of the Horizon program, I think of Vision Zero. And with you not here to articulate how important those are, very citizen-centric programs, how important they are to our community, I just feel like the message has gotten lost a little bit, that there needs to be more reminders about why we're doing these things.
Yeah, you're so right. Not that it's missing my voice, but that we have to constantly articulate the why. At the end of the day, a mayor or a governor or a president is going to have to sit across the couch from a family who's lost somebody, and it's their fault. And whether that's a president sending people to war, whether that's highway policies leading to unsafe work zones, or whether that's local policies leading to unsafe streets, you're going to have that conversation. Could be gun violence. There's a number of different ways that family could find their way looking eye to eye with you, but you never want to be in the position to say, I knew the right thing to do and I didn't do it. And when it came to Vision Zero, tough pill to swallow, because the few things that you could just leave alone and keep people happy is don't mess with their streets, right? Don't mess with people's lawns, don't mess with people's streets, don't mess with people's sodas,
sidewalks.
Just these simple things. Just stay away from them, and everybody will be happy. Well, you didn't get elected to these jobs to just make people happy. That's not goal number one. It's an important factor in continuing to do the work, right?
And ultimately, change makes people happy.
Of course it does. Of course it does. But when you know the right answer, and there are proven policies that can be implemented, they always talk about the 3 E's with streets: enforcement, education, and engineering. Enforcement and education don't save lives. People always say, "Oh, I want a police car running radar." Okay, great. It'll make you feel better. Won't save lives. Doesn't do it. You can't. There are not enough police cars, not enough police officers. There aren't even enough speed cameras that you could put up that would save lives. Public education
and also the citizens just resent it. They're like, why aren't the police out?
Oh, then they get mad about
exactly. But go ahead.
That's right. Public education around traffic safety doesn't work. The only thing that works is engineering. You have to change the roads. You have to say, well, we're going to narrow the streets, and we're going to, and that's become federal policy now. That's not a city of Salisbury thing. It started as a European Scandinavian movement, and it's become federal policy. That is the U.S. Department of Transportation policy. It's enshrined in federal law in the transportation bill. It's enshrined in state law with the I forget what it's called. It's like Towards Zero Deaths. That's what it is. Towards Zero Deaths is the Maryland law. It's not Vision Zero. And then Salisbury's Vision Zero law. It's the law of the land, and it's the right thing to do, and it's a pain. And every one of us feels that when we're hurt in a rush to go somewhere and we just want to get through, and we don't want to have to slow down for a speed bump or for a narrower street, or to have to navigate an intersection more slowly. But again, it's going to save lives.
Yeah, speed kills.
It does. It does. The difference between a 20 mile per hour strike and a 30 mile per hour strike on a child is life and death.
Yeah. Now, we haven't reported it yet in the paper, but there's another new plan for Waverly. And, I'm sure you don't ever want to hear about Waverly Drive again.
I don't mind at all.
But so everyone's going to, erupt. They're all going to call me and complain. What's the city doing? Well, they just changed it. No, it's been like 8 years, 7 or 8 years now.
It's been like four or five.
But and we're going to try something different and new and better.
Not really.
Okay.
It's we announced it when we did it. It's phase one. That was phase one. This is just phase two. But if it helps people think that we are doing. We heard your concerns. We heard your concerns. We're doing something different. Go ahead. But all it is phase two. The concrete's going. Now there are some slight modifications, but not significant. But tactical modifications to make things easier is my understanding. But I also am aware that it is the execution of all the concrete, which will separate the bike lanes from the travel lanes, which is. That was the plan all along. And now Carroll's already under construction. So all that concrete now all going all the way to 13. Started construction the other day. I was dropping the girls off at art camp at the SU Art Galleries downtown and saw that they're starting to put in the concrete medians all the way down to 13. So, and there's a rendering. They've put a drawing up. I don't know if you've seen that right at Division and Carroll. So it looks beautiful. But more importantly, gain park space back. You'll get planted medians. You get safety. More likely that the nurses and doctors who live downtown and who want to go to lunch downtown, and who soon, when Tidal Health develops that lot, will be able to live right there. We'll be able to cross the street without having to run across 120 feet of asphalt and
run for your life.
Run for your life between 70 mile per hour traffic, like it's Frogger. Yeah, the kids won't know what that is.
Now, when you took this job, you said you were going to commute, stay in town. I was like, well, yeah, they all say that, and then they sort of gravitate across the bridge, and then they don't come home as much. But you've kept your word on this.
I just re-enrolled my kids in Salisbury Christian School. We're here. Yeah, we're here for the long haul. Not going anywhere. Love Salisbury. Love my house. I love. I'm a block from where I was born and raised. So I don't want to go anywhere. This is my town. I care very much about it, and I find that I'm able to easily navigate the state from Salisbury. We start our days and push off and drive around the state to wherever we need to go. And it's different every day. There are no 2 days that are similar in this job. But I get to see, maybe I'll be walking the streets in a neighborhood in Baltimore in the morning, and then I'll be in a meeting in Annapolis in the afternoon, and stop in Cambridge on the way back, and then back in Salisbury.
Yeah, I edit the paper in Cambridge too, and I noticed you're going to have an office there in the old building that's there.
I have an office there. Yeah. So we were a major financing entity for that development. My predecessor, Ken Holt, had a special place in his heart for the packing house project, and I will tell you that if you go back 13 years, I was working at the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy when we first started working on the Cannery Park project. And planning that project, which is now complete. So Cannery Park is there. The Packing House project is there. We didn't only finance it, we provided grants for development. We're a lender to some of the tenants on the businesses, and we are a tenant ourselves. So we have 15, 20 people there, and a community engagement center. And I have an office there. So it's a great spot.
And Cambridge is one of those towns, there's a lot that can be tried there.
Yeah, there can be. Cambridge, if you look at sort of the demographics, Cambridge has lost population for a while. Cambridge has has low median income. So Cambridge is a place that I think we need to be supporting, we need to be engaged in. But Cambridge is a place that has all of this tremendous vibrancy and all this enthusiasm. Eager people with world-class minds trying big things, and all these huge assets, not least of which is the Choptank River.
Right.
I mean, it's just unbelievable asset. That is one of the best, most beautiful vistas imaginable. The Hyatt is a well-placed example of what you can do with an old state property,
right.
And capitalizes on that beautiful area. And you can see on the other side of the Choptank River Bridge all the work that's going on the waterfront, Cambridge waterfront area. So the waterfront development initiative is going great. Those folks are working really hard on their vision. Just had some street namings through public process.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing really good things continue to happen in Cambridge.
That's cool. The current mayor, Jack Heath.
Yeah.
Does he ever call you?
Not that often. Jack knows what he's doing, but we talk periodically. Jack doesn't. I don't think Jack needs me on his shoulder, so I don't sit on his shoulder. I just let him do his thing.
Is that hard for you to sort of to pull yourself back?
It might be if I weren't deeply engaged in what I'm doing, because I care. I care very much, but I don't have the time in a day to concentrate on Salisbury's current problem or issue or challenge or victory even. My job requires my attention to be divided through 24 jurisdictions. So that's where my mind is.
Yeah, well, after I got bounced from the Daily Times, I'd read the paper every day and go, what are they doing? What do they think? What? And it took me a while to go, no one cares what you think.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, I chose to accept this offer. I chose to accept the offer to go work for the governor, which means I chose to hand over the reins. So I think it's really important to trust the person that you hand the reins over to. I've built a lot of things. The Center for Towns at the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy, I had to hand over the reins there. I've led various units. I remember handing over my first platoon that I led as a platoon leader, and all I could think was, well, that knucklehead's going to screw everything up. And that's not fair, right? You can't do that. You have to move on and wish them luck and counsel them what you can in the limited time you have to counsel them, and then get out of the way and let them succeed. The truth is, everybody's got assets. Everybody's got capabilities and values and ideas and all of those things that they bring as a human being into a leadership position, and you didn't have some of them. And so they're going to be able to do things that you couldn't do and see things that you couldn't see. So you just move on and let it go. I mean, I felt the same way when Jack took over as council president. I was like, I used to do that. I know how to do this. Let me tell you what to do. And I didn't then, as much as I might have wanted to. I didn't then, and I don't now. Jack has decades of executive experience, far more than I could ever hope to have. So I have every confidence that he'll continue to do a great job.
How can people get a hold of you? Do you want people to get a hold of you?
Sure, yeah. Jake.day@maryland.gov. And my cell phone hasn't changed. Still got the same number. Still available through social media. I may take a little bit to get back to you just because of volume, but I will do my best. Yeah, this is still my town too. I love it and I care about it, and I want to continue to be a part of it.
He's Jake Day. He's the Secretary of Housing and Community Development for the state of Maryland. We're thrilled that he had time to be with us here today. Jake, thanks so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Have me back, Greg. This is fun.
Thank you. I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper. Another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.